Alright everyone, it's time for the Occult video 233, Chamomile as an occult aid. This was asked of me after my ditty about dream interpretation the other day, as well as the garden update. People are asking, well, what about chamomile within, like, magical context? Because it's used as a sleep aid. How does that cross over with dream interpretation? The simple answer is chamomile itself is occult insofar as you're using it within an occult framework. In and of itself, like there's no tales of like, oh, witches grow chamomile to fly through the air and stuff, sort of the superstitious side. I would say this, it is active on the human mind. It is a powerful sedative. It's much more powerful than people think if you take it fresh. The first thing that I would say is if you're growing your own chamomile, by the way, 2 or 3 plants for one person is probably enough unless you're drinking it constantly. It's a lot more than you would expect. You can freeze it for up to 6 months. You can also dry it and bag it as I am. I've got a new method now that's because there was mold in a couple of the containers. That's why they're gone. I saved what I could and fully dried it, but I've got a new method now that I'm using in order to store it. It definitely helps with sleep, but the other thing is it's not like passion flower. If you've ever taken those like passion flower extract tablets or anything, it causes you to sleep more easily, but then you have like weird dreams that are sort of scattered and hard to remember. And sometimes nightmares. I noticed that. I stopped taking it. That was like 10 years ago for that reason. I took it for about a month. It just, it actually made my sleep cycle weird. I kept waking up in the middle of the night. Like I would fall asleep easily, but it wouldn't be as easy to stay asleep. Chamomile is much better for me. I've tried valerian once and it didn't do much. Like I took the Sleepy Time Extra, which I know the chamomile there is kind of weak anyway compared to homegrown, so I'm assuming that with valerian it's the same. I'd like to grow my own valerian plants because cats apparently love it. Fucking can't get enough of it. So I'd like to plant it in among like a bunch of catnip and some of these other things, honeysuckle, that cats really like. I want to make a happy cat garden patch out in the back of the cat yard. Have some valerian in there. I'm assuming it's stronger if you do it yourself. But chamomile induces sleep. It's more gentle than passion flower to cause you to sleep, but it doesn't harm your sleep cycle as much. For me, this is an anecdote, and it could be that I'm in the minority here. I don't know, because I haven't compared notes, so to speak. It helps me to stay asleep, and it focuses the dreams. It makes them more easily remembered, and a little bit more like time flows more normally as opposed to jumping around like with passion flower. So for that purpose, yes, I do dream interpretation actively. Chamomile can help with that. I would assume it would be good as a meditation aid. And then some people, they do psychodrama as opposed to more literal occult. Like their idea of the occult is they surround themselves with occult trappings. They've got the black cat and cauldron thing going on, and it changes their frame of mind. And that is an occult practice. To change the setting, feng shui comes to mind, to change one's surroundings, to change oneself. Very much occult in a behavioral sense. I would say insofar as that's the case, having a little like witchy garden, yeah, of course it's going to have chamomile in it. If it doesn't, like you're missing out. There's no reason not to. At one point in the past, I was like, well, I want like cool plants, not poisonous plants and stuff. And so I tried planting like henbane and datura and stuff. I've managed to eradicate all of these species. The henbane almost managed to take hold and naturalize. I managed to get rid of it all, I think, finally. One last plant came up in the garden. Those seeds can stay dormant for 2 years in the soil, by the way. So if you let one go to seed, then you've got to keep pulling up babies for up to 3 years thereafter because they're so hardy. It's very funny how they can do it. And it was covered in like 2 feet of mulch. 2 inches of mulch. It's amazing that it was able to survive. But I managed to yank it out and destroy it. So yes, chamomile is occult in nature. It is psychoactive in the sense that it's a sedative. A fairly powerful one. Again, grow Roman chamomile, sort of just take it whole, chop it up a little bit, put it in some hot water, let it steep for 10-20 minutes. It'll come out a very yellow, like a piss color. And it tastes way better as well than the stuff you get in the stores. The one caveat is if you leave it in too long, the little greenness in there, it'll leach the chlorophyll, it'll turn bitter. It'll turn your drink green. So you gotta, you take the flower material out after you've steeped it for a while. You can put it through a strainer. It's really as simple as that. Steeping the tea is easy. It's pleasant. It feels good. It almost causes flashes of warmth. Like if it feels a little bit similar, if I had to actually compare it to anything, ironically I would compare it similar to the feeling that you get in your upper chest and throat sometimes when you're on LSA, like morning glory, at least for me. I don't know. There's no further way for me to explain it to anyone who hasn't had that experience. It's very similar to that, and it sort of comes and goes in waves. It's very pleasant physically speaking, and it relaxes you, potentiates like the tingles of ASMR, the pleasure of being massaged, things like that are potentiated by chamomile as well if you've taken enough of it. Not long lasting, at least in that sense, but it does potentiate. So yeah, chamomile is an interesting plant. It is included within Fruits of Eden, Herbalism, and the Occult, which I will be re-editing some point this, probably around September, I would say. I've got a few more works to work on. I'm working on actually a family physician right now. It'll be interesting to see whether it mentions chamomile. Probably does. It was taken quite frequently back in the 19th century. This one's from the 1860s, I believe, this particular book. That's about all. Peace out.